Among the many artists who express their ideas and feelings in sculpture, there is a group of men and women who are not content to let their work sit still. Their sculptures are made to be set in motion, to move through the power of natural forces, or perhaps even an attached motor. This type of sculpture is known as kinetic art, a term which comes from the Greek word for movement or motion. The Museum of Outdoor Art's collection contains several pieces which illustrate both the diversity and beauty that can be found in kinetic art. One such piece is Wind Song 3, which was recently commissioned from artist Robert Mangold. This creation is one in a series which Mangold calls Animotive Kinetics, an expression which means that the movement of the piece is powered by the motion of the wind. Producing Wind Song 3 required Mangold's knowledge of science and engineering as much as his skill as an artist. As you can see, the space between the spinning cups doesn't allow room for miscalculation or error. What is not immediately apparent is the enormous amount of time and work needed for such a project. Many months before the piece was installed at Sampson Park, Mangold, with his assistant, began to carefully lay out the location of each individual part which would make up the finished windsong. On a large steel table, the radius of a circle is measured in wire, and a 180-degree arc is marked off in chalk. The size of this half-circle not only determines the length of the sculpture's arms, or veins, but also decides the size of the finished sphere they will make up. After the arc is drawn, the position of each pipe, which will form an arm, is marked off. Next, the placement of each cup is calculated and drawn on the table. Wind Song 3 was constructed out of stainless steel, a durable and very expensive material. In order to keep waste and costs at a minimum, models of the cups were first made from stiff paper. This enables the artist to try out a number of sizes and options before cutting any steel. Once he is satisfied with the paper model, he can use its measurements to correctly cut the sheet metal. The stainless steel for the cups comes in large sheets, too heavy for one person to handle. In order to get it down to a workable size, it must first be cut into smaller pieces. Once this is done, a small hole is drilled in each piece, which will allow it to be bent into a cup shape more easily. Every artist has tools which allow him or her to control and manipulate the artist's medium. Sometimes these tools are as simple as the painter's brush and may be bought at any art supply store. But often, an artist must design and create tools to perform the special tasks for which only that artist has a need. Mangold has built a number of special clamps which allow him to form steel cups into numerous sizes for his animotive kinetic sculptures. They help simplify the process of bending the cups, which is both strenuous and time-consuming. Each piece is first bent into its general form by hand. Further refinement requires the use of hammer and anvil in order to bring the steel to its correct shape. Once he is satisfied with the bends and contour, Mangold gives the cup to his assistant for welding. Using clamps to hold the overlapping edges, she uses a spot welder to fuse the joint. She then smooths out any roughness in the welds with the hammer and anvil, at the same time checking to make sure the cup has held the correct shape. All the cups for a section having been made, they are carefully laid out on the table in their proper places. After ensuring the correct alignment, measurements for the pipes, which will be attached to the cups, are taken. Length and angles are meticulously measured and calculated. This effort must be as accurate as possible in order to save both time and material. Mangold believes that if you measure twice, you usually only have to cut once. An electric cutoff saw is first used to cut the pipe. Although quick, the saw usually doesn't cut as accurately as is needed, and further refinement by grinding is necessary. Checking the angle by eye, then estimating the amount to be ground off, is a skill Mangold has developed after many years of producing similar sculpture. Following grinding and making sure they are as close together as possible, the pieces are then welded. The section laid out on the table will contain 9 cups connected to pipes. This section will be built 4 more times to produce the sculpture's 45 cups and 15 arms, which will be attached to the large center shaft. It is easy to understand at this point the tremendous amount of time and work involved in producing such a sculpture. Making the center shaft requires not only much larger pipe, but also massive machines which can turn and cut the steel with precision. In order for the arms of the sculpture to rotate in the wind, bearings must be placed in the center shaft. Similar to those in the wheels of a bicycle, the bearings allow pieces attached to the shaft to turn freely without effort. Spaces for these bearings are cut out of the large pipe. At this time, holes are drilled for the supports which will hold the arms in place. After the machine work is completed, the arms are placed on their supports and the entire piece is rough assembled to make sure everything fits as planned. In the past, Mangold has produced a number of animotive kinetic pieces where he left the stainless steel uncoated, and had this been his desire, at this point the piece basically would be finished. Wind Song 3, however, was designed to be a multicolored sculpture. This means it now needs further preparation in order to be painted. Any rough spots on the welds are ground as smooth as can be to make sure they won't be seen through the painted finish, and a quick sanding job removes any foreign materials which might interfere with the paint. Because of the nature of stainless steel, it is hard to get anything to stick to it. In order for the paint to adhere, a special white undercoating, which helps the paint stay on, was first applied to the entire piece. A number of different colors were chosen for Wind Song 3, all of them from a type of paint designed to endure outdoor weather conditions. After mixing and thinning the paint to the proper consistency, Mangold and his assistant painstakingly applied the colors to every nook and cranny. This is the final step in the making of the sculpture, and once the paint has cured for several days, the piece is ready to be installed at Sampson Park. Wind Song 3 has 3 levels of arms which rotate independent of one another. In order to transport the sculpture to the installation site, the 3 sections are separated, loaded onto 2 trucks, and secured with ropes and foam rubber. At Sampson Park, a hole containing a pipe set in concrete had been prepared earlier for the installation. This pipe is the same size as Wind Song 3's center shaft, and once removed, the shaft is placed into the remaining hole. In order to place the 3 sections on top of the shaft, a truck with a boom or crane is used. The sections are first reassembled into one unit in the back of one of the trucks. Then the entire piece is lifted, carefully positioned, and lowered onto the shaft. Once the boom is detached, Wind Song 3 is complete and free to move gracefully with the wind.